You're on. What are you
So
doing? What's
I
that
am.
noise in the background?
That's the stupid soft serve ice cream machine that doesn't work because those vultures from Roost Sports eat everything in sight and
The
broke
vulture.
it.
Oh, you blame it on the Root Sports people?
Dude, those guys are like voracious. They're like people that have been on a desert island or like a like a deserted island for like 6 months. Every meal is like their last. So
Well, welcome everybody in on X, also on YouTube. This is the Ryan Divish Show. Look at him. From the Seattle Times, his weekly appearance is brought to you by Chalet Bowl. It is Washington's oldest operating bowling alley, established in 1941, located in the beautiful, historic Tacoma's Proctor District. Family owned and operated for 40 years. The Frederick family and staff specializes in customer service for your bowling, food, and fun experience while at their unique 12-lane facility. Go to chaletbowl.com to make your next reservation. You can follow Ryan on X at Ryan Divish. You can follow me on X and also Instagram at Puck2040. Also on TikTok at Puck_sports, and of course on Facebook as well. We are in the Puck Sports Studios. It's built by Limback Lumber, family owned and serving the Northwest since 1930. Summer is here. That means, Divish, it is deck and fence season, and you look like someone that could build a deck and fence. So contact the folks at Limback Lumber, 206-782-3487. Visit them online at limbacklumber.com. Puck Sports Studios, built by Limback Lumber. Wow. With that through, we got all that out of the way.
good lord.
Well, there's a lot there. We're a media empire. You're a part of the empire.
Okay.
Well, sum it up for me.
Well, first of all,
What was the mood in that clubhouse?
I want to say for those people, giving out my Twitter handle, if you don't want to follow me, you shouldn't. Please don't. If you don't follow me, just don't. It's not worth it. And if you do follow me, you can unfollow. I'm not much fun to follow.
Oh, so you're already Divish, you're already upset. Is that what
Oh
we're
no,
doing?
no, I'm mostly kidding. I am gonna take a little step back on it. I mean, but no, it was. I don't know. It wasn't like the last scene of Old Yeller. I mean, it was not. It was team. They dropped 3 in a row. They lost 5 of 6. It was pretty morose, but at the same time, it's like half the team is from Tacoma right now, so those guys are excited to be going on a road trip that isn't to El Paso or Oklahoma City or wherever.
They're excited to get on Vossler and all these guys, right?
Marlowe, Locklear,
Marlowe. They're excited to get on a plane with big seats and snacks and everything.
Yeah, they're flying a charter. They're not flying Southwest. I guess the Rainiers are in Oklahoma City right now, so that's even worse. They're going to Chicago. Like it's a great city. They have an off day to spend in Chicago. Like slightly better than Oklahoma City.
Sure, it's all I know what you're doing. It's all perspective. I get it. I get it.
No, I mean like otherwise, yeah, they were not. It's not a good clubhouse. I mean, like in terms of, it was pretty. I wouldn't say morose, but it's just like I kind of wrote today though, like the loss on Monday on Monday. The loss on Monday was brutal, as Service called it, and all the other things, and it was probably one of the worst games I've watched in a while. But the loss on Tuesday, it was almost like expected because like the lineup they were rolling out, which I think I wrote was like half Cactus League, half Pacific Coast League lineup, and then like today it just seemed inevitable. Like it was all lined up. But when they only got when they got that double play on Locklear's ball, and Mariners didn't score, and like that wasn't like their traditional way of not scoring with bases loaded. They hit the ball hard. They did it right. I was just like, this is going to be bad. It's going to be 1-0, and something goopy will happen in the 7th or 8th, and then you won't even get to Munoz in the 9th.
Wow.
And what happens? Got a nice inning from Colin Snyder, and then what happens? Santos gives up a bloop single, then allows the tying run, and then gets hurt, and they bring in Trent Thornton for the 9,733rd time this season. And he gives up a single, and then they're cooked. So yeah, I was. It just I felt inevitable. It just felt like it was coming. Like this is their rock bottoming out point. You know, how long the bottom they stay on bottom is a while, but like nothing that I've seen, even with as good as their pitching staff is, I'm just thinking, man, it's going to be hard for them to score.
There's the ice cream maker again in the background.
The ice cream
Apparently,
maker, yeah, it's out of order. That doesn't make ice cream.
who eats the most ice cream from Root Sports?
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, well, you threw it. Is it the people behind the scenes
Oh,
that are
yeah,
eating all the ice cream?
yeah,
Oh, it's not.
I mean,
it's not Brad and
no.
Jen and Angie.
No, Jen and Angie and Brad are eating like kale ice cream or something, or avocado ice cream. They're not eating. I mean, Angie, if they made a Chardonnay ice cream, she'd probably crush that.
Oh, I'm sure. I've had like a I've had a rosé slushy.
Yeah, I mean,
I bet she's had some of those.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Divish, but think of these starting pitchers. I joked the other day that I'd love to be, on Twitter. I was like, I would love to be on the text thread with these starters, to hear the amount of just, shit they talk to these guys. I mean, because it's inevitable. It's sports. It happens, and it's not to say that they don't like their teammates or all that, but I guarantee they're all on a text thread going, what else can we do? I mean, in this 3 games, Castillo, Gilbert, and Miller, you know this, 19 2/3. They gave up 12 hits and 1 earned run, and they were swept. I mean, that is unbelievable, man.
Well, the last 7 quality starts delivered by the team, by the pitchers, they've lost them all. So.
But okay, you've been following this stuff. I was asking Jim Duquette, have you ever, can you think of an example where a manager has been fired, like leading the division, tied for the division, a game out? And he's like, I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything. And again, I want to be clear. I'm not advocating for him to be fired. Others have. I get it. Listen, I don't think he's a perfect manager. No one's perfect, right? Everyone's got their flaws. To me, this is a bigger issue that starts first with the ownership and has trickled down, to Dipoto and Hollander of the creation of the team. But, first and foremost, I would put the blame, at the ownership before I got to Scott Service. Again, there's things that he does that isn't great. I don't know if he's lost the clubhouse. You can tell me that. But we've seen things like this when you're on a slide like this and guys are, you're managing for your job or you're trying to lead a team for your job, what have you, that sometimes an ownership group, has a knee-jerk reaction. I don't know if we call this knee-jerk, but, they're on a massive slide right now. And, they get rid of France to maybe send a message. I don't know what the messages that they could send, but do you think it's unheard of that they would make a move with Scott Service?
I don't know if it's unheard of. I mean, there have been reactionary stuff. I mean, I think we've seen in the NBA guys make the postseason and get fired. I'm trying to think if there was in baseball. Maybe it's like the clash of personalities. Usually it's the star player that forces the guys to get fired. I don't know. I mean, somebody asked me, would Jerry fire Scott? Well, yeah, if Jerry felt like he could lose his job, then yeah, he could do that. I mean, I think people think that these guys are so close and so attached.
Yeah, I want you to expand on that one because I'd like to maybe investigate that narrative more.
Yeah, I just think when your friend is your boss for that long, there's going to be a divide out. There was, I think, the last time Scott got last 2 times Scott got contract extensions, he was a little miffed about the money. I mean, you look at this, he's been there since 2015 or whatever. One of the longest tenured managers in Major League Baseball. He's probably one of the lowest paid. But that's typical of the Mariners organization in general.
Typical in terms of just paying everyone, or typical of paying a manager?
Oh, everyone. Yeah, they don't pay. That's why they lose coaches.
That again shouldn't surprise anyone to hear that.
Yeah. And that goes back to the Chuck Armstrong days of the people that work their asses off every day here. And Chuck's like, well, you got to work in baseball, so you got to like it.
You,
Like,
you, does he say that when he was walking around with the iced tea in his cup?
yeah, when the person who mixed it probably was making minimum wage.
Yeah.
No, so like I don't know, like the whole situation with Scott and Jerry, just like everybody just thinks like they're so in tuned and everything like that, but it's not. Jerry is
Mm,
the all power boss, and Scott is an employee under him. I mean, I think that dynamic doesn't always lead to like best friends. I mean, like
yeah.
I'm sure there's plenty of times. I know there are plenty of times where Scott disagrees
Sure.
with with orders from Jerry about stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, you think Scott Service wanted to play Jesse Winker in left field? You don't think that he didn't want somebody else, anybody else,
Right.
to get called up?
Oh, well, let's take it further with Suarez. We've talked about
Yeah,
that before.
yeah. I
He
mean,
didn't want to get rid of Eugenio Suarez.
no, I think he understood that more just because I think he was frustrated with how Suarez showed up last year out of shape and some other stuff.
Yeah,
But like, yeah,
but to your point, and I wanted you to expand on the narrative because I've heard this a lot, and it just
yeah, it's
you and I
not
have
true.
talked on and off the air about this that they are attached at the hip. So if you fire one, you got to fire both, and
No,
we both don't agree with that.
no, and it's not. Only an idiot would go down and quit his job to like save his co-partner. I mean, like, only idiot would have those morals and principles to quit a known
You
paying
got to
job.
stand on your principles.
Yeah, you
You
and
would do the same thing. You
Tammy
do,
White, you're Tammy Wynette singing "Stand by Your Man" here.
yeah.
No, like I told Bob Condota, like if he wanted to quit, we could go Thelma and Louise and go out together. But and that new NFL schedule will probably make him quit. But and the Mike McDonald being an anal retentive paranoid schizo might be a problem too.
But do
No,
you think the I want to get back to the original point. You don't think that they're I
no, I
don't know
think
the odds of him losing his job that we find out tomorrow that they have made a managerial move on the scale to 1 to 10, 10 being the most surprised, you would be where?
8 or 9.
Okay.
I mean, was there a part of me that said, "Hey, maybe I should write a story about Scott being let go or Jarrett DeHart or somebody"? I don't
Sure.
know. I mean, like they're running out of people to fire,
Right.
so it's like, but I mean, like I guess like, do you blame Scott for all the hitting problems, but does the credit go for all the pitching success? Like I don't know. Like you can't say one. He has direct influence on one or the other. He oversees these coaches that handle it. Um, and I don't think he's lost the clubhouse. I think he's lost some players to injury. I think that's a problem. And I think
Sure.
he's been given underperforming players that I think it mystifies them that they aren't performing.
Are they playing smart baseball to you?
I think they played smart. I think they've made some mistakes lately that are uncharacteristic of how his teams normally play.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's all relative to the fact that they don't score any runs. So then they're trying to make plays because they know that like they got to make every single freaking play because they can't score.
Who do you think the best manager in baseball is right now? Pick a game. You pick one game to have as a manager.
Oh, geez, I don't know.
Bruce Bochy. I don't know. I'm just bringing him up. Recency bias. What about?
I like Bochy, but I don't. I mean, like his team collapsed pretty hard last year.
Pick anyone.
I like Alex Cora.
Okay,
Alex Cora of the Red Sox. Yeah.
Okay, so Alex Cora managing the Mariners right now. Does he make that big of a difference?
No, not really. I mean, I've covered 8 managers. Like to me, the job of the manager is to make sure that guys go out there and do their work and are doing their work and preparing, and that they play hard, and that they play for each other. Like you can accuse the Mariners of a lot of things, but they play hard. They don't always play smart, and I think they're limited by talent or whatever. But I never thought that they were dogging anything like that. I think they prepare. I mean, like this team prepares as much as any team. They're always doing stuff. It's not like the days of Lopez and Betancourt and all those guys just laying around the clubhouse. These guys are doing something all the time. Part of the reason we never can talk to them pregame is because they're always doing stuff. So it's like, no, I think that's the thing. Like everybody focuses on the in-game decisions, and part of the thing is we don't even know the background on the in-game decisions, like who they can go to and who they can't.
Yeah.
Like the other day when they went to Stanek, it was because Snyder was down. They didn't want to have to go to him. Like they they push some of these relievers because some of them haven't bounced back the way they should, and you're carrying a leverage reliever that can only go every other day or sometimes 2 days in between every outing.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
Is there a chance though a different voice can tap into these players? And I don't know if that. I mean, the follow up would be: is there a voice on that team currently? I'm just trying to think back. When's the last time we saw them a Major League Baseball team, never like this, but fire a guy and then have a good run? I guess the Phillies, right?
Yeah, when they fired Girardi.
Yeah. But that was early on. They were 6 games under 500 or something, weren't they?
And like, there's a reason Joe has moved around a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't like that's the one thing is like Service has been a player's manager, really for a long time. Like when he first started, he was a little more anal and he tried to be a football coach type. And I think he had kind of established the identity of who he wants to be and how he wants to be as a manager and giving the players freedom and protecting them. That's why like the other night was so different because he didn't.
Right.
But like, yeah, so I to me, and it's these guys and they sit there and they talk about being professional and all this other stuff. If the manager has to sit there and harp and get it emotional and this and that to just get them to play hard or everything or whatever, then you've already lost.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Then you have the wrong freaking guys in there. And I don't think it's the case with these guys. They put in the work. It's just like some of it is loft, lack of fucking talent. That's what my college coach said to me. You have loft issues. And so, I mean, like, I think that's part of it. So I don't know where they go. I mean, if they did it, so be it. Like, I've covered so many managerial changes in my life. I don't know, but like the teams that fired. So when they fired, when Hargrove quit.
Right. That's the only other time that I can remember something like this happening. Now, were they in first place or were they on a winning streak?
They were on a winning streak and they were in second place.
Okay, but they were right there though.
Yeah, they were right there, and then they had that horrendous road trip.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean,
so they didn't get better when they fired Walk.
Yeah.
And they brought in Darren Brown. They didn't get better when they fired McLaren. They brought in Riggleman. I mean, not significantly better. I don't know. Like I guess to me is if they got so they let's say they fired Scott.
Who's on this? I'm going to ask you who's on the staff right now. If they remove him as manager, the most logical person to take over would be who?
Well, Acta's got the most managerial experience. I mean, Negron filled in the last time when Scott had COVID, I believe. One of those two. I mean, like, the thing is like I don't think that like those guys work with. I don't think they would do anything different. Like they would still do the meetings, would do all that stuff. So to me, like if they got significantly better, just because Scott left or Scott got fired and somebody else came in, I wouldn't necessarily credit the new manager. I'd probably question the players and what their intentions were and why it wasn't working then, because I don't think stuff would have changed that significantly. Because there's not enough time. You're talking about 58 games or 57 games. You're really going to come through and change it up. I don't know. I think, to me, if they do it, they do it. I don't think they will, but stranger things have happened in baseball.
And they're on an off day tomorrow before they start their series with the White Sox.
Yeah,
which a lot of times this is when it happens. If they were going to do something,
would you wonder on this though? Is like Jerry says to John Stanton and Chris Larson, "Hey, I want to fire Scott because I just don't think this is working." John famously says, "Well, I never get in the way of baseball decisions," but like John could certainly say, like, "Oh no, you're gonna
wear it."
Him. Yeah, you're gonna keep him because this isn't his fault. This isn't on him.
Yeah,
I mean, you handed him this roster that's really disjointed and really isn't working. So I mean, I don't know if he'd do that or not. Like, in the past years, I think Howard Lincoln and Chuck Armstrong did stuff like that where they would say certain things and they wouldn't let them do certain things. But I don't know what that would be like.
And then if I'm Jerry DiPoto, I would turn to John Stanton and say, "You don't let me spend any money."
Oh, no, exactly.
You
I
don't
mean,
you
like,
don't let me do any. The reason I've got Polanco and I've got Garver and I've got Luke Raley and I had to get rid of Evan White and Marco Gonzalez and Jared Kelnick and Suarez and Teoscar and all these guys is because you will not give me the money that we need to improve this baseball team.
no, it's like it's the equivalent. Like their roster moves that they've had to make, given the financial restrictions that they're under. It's like going to the used car. It's like going to a car dealership, passing over all the newer ones, passing all of the lease returns that are under 25,000 miles, and can only choose from vehicles with over 100,000 miles and say, okay, I got to go with these, but then be surprised that they don't work out. One of them breaks down or whatever. Like it just, if you're shopping if you're shopping at Nordstrom Rack and not Nordstrom, then you understand why. And believe me, I'm a Nordstrom Rack.
And I love a good rack, though.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, I'll shop. Like, I mean, like it's the dollar store stuff, like all the time. Like when they're bringing in these guys and when they're getting them, like Polanco, Garber, Haniger, they're not in their peaks. They're not 28. They're not 29, 33, 32. Like Polanco, if he was so productive, why wasn't he still there?
Right.
Why didn't the Twins keep him?
But like the situation, like I think you would agree with this one, is again the ice cream machine continues to go off there in the background. You would agree with this, that the situation they're in right now with how bad they are offensively, this was put together in the offseason.
Yeah.
This is what, why they're here right now. I mean, the numbers on this stuff. I mean, I saw this stat earlier that it's, that where you see their rankings, their pitching and their hitting rankings. I mean, it is unbelievable. ERA first, WHIP first, batting average first. This is the pitching. Strikeouts 8th, K to walk percentage 3rd. And then their hitters, batting average 30th, on base 28th, slugging 28th, OPS 28th, strikeouts 30th. I mean, you just could not get two just polar opposites of a baseball team.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable to have that. And it's unbelievable that they still find themselves, because Houston crapped over themselves in this series against Oakland before they were able to win it today. But oh my God, Houston should be up 3 games right now. And maybe going, see you later.
I make this wager that Texas will take a lead in the American League West in the next month.
You are more, you think, I tend to agree with you that you're more afraid of what Texas can do. Or where Texas is opposed to where Houston is.
Well, you're afraid of both of them, but Texas is starting to get healthy, starting to hit again. I just think like these other two teams haven't shown the ability to pull away. Like, do you think that like maybe the Rangers, gassed themselves out with a 25-9 run to get into, the break? Maybe. I mean, I thought that like we've kind of talked about how their pitching at some point is. What they're doing isn't sustainable, similar to what the Mariners are doing.
Sure.
At some point wasn't sustainable. So, I'll be very interested to see which starters that the Astros add. I mean, like, you wonder, like in this series against the White Sox, Fetty and Crochet are projected to pitch. Will they pitch?
Yeah. What do they? But okay, so now where they're at right now, and again, it's and most people feel it's all doom and gloom. I mean, you look at social media, anything, right? It's tear it down, sell the whole thing, move on. Like I even just brought it up yesterday. I was just I wanted to kind of gauge people, and it's not a topic that has not been brought up before. I think other people have brought this up of, would they consider trading someone like Castillo? I mean, he's got 3 more years. They're paying him over $75 million. I mean. They've always been able to develop pitchers and find pitchers, and they've got young, cheap, controllable pitchers and all that. Would they ever think about moving him? And I just threw it out there of like, if they just go into an absolute tailspin, and people are like, they're already in the tailspin. But I'm just saying, like, get swept here, something, they lose the first, they get swept again by Chicago, and I mean, a real tailspin. Would they consider moving him? And I'll be honest with you, I was blown away by the reaction from a lot of people.
Yeah,
I mean, they should be trading him. They should have been trading him a long time ago. He's terrible. I'm like, okay, he's not that bad. I mean, my God, he's had 1 bad month.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't been vintage Luis, but not vintage Castillo is still pretty damn good. But where do you think they're at now? As we're less than a week away from this thing, of what they want to do.
Also, Castillo has a full no trade clause through 2025, so they couldn't trade him until after the 25 season.
Well,
They'd
but
have to get his
he can
approval.
waive it.
Yeah, I mean he can waive it, and they'd have to pay him a couple.
What if
million.
you dealt him to Baltimore? I don't know. I'm
I mean,
just
yeah, I
speaking
know.
out loud.
There are some people that in baseball believe that Jerry Dipoto would be happier to be able to like trade off the pieces and continue to build, like that he likes the building
He
process
likes
more.
the building more than the winning.
Yeah, I don't necessarily believe
Yeah,
that.
what do you
But
think?
there are,
Is that fair, or that's just you think that's fair?
I don't know. Some people like the Lego set more than the actual toy that it creates. You know,
What
I
about
don't think
you?
so.
What did you like? Did you like building the Lego set or playing with it?
I liked blowing it up with fireworks.
That wasn't an option. I didn't give
I
you that
know.
option.
I like the process probably more.
You like the process more. See, I that's weird because I mean, I like the result.
Yeah. Well, it's because you probably paid somebody to build it for you, and then you just played with the toy.
I don't think that's wrong to have a kid
Yeah, I
build a
know.
Lego set for you if you
Yeah.
paid him, and some snacks.
Yeah. I mean, like, hey, do this for me, and then you play with it. Yeah, no. Uh, I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't think so. I saw how much they celebrated making the postseason. Like, you grind through it. You want to win. You're around these guys. You think you want to win, but then, like, sometimes it's just like the realistic aspect of like how much has to go right for them to win.
Right.
Even going into the season, like we all kind of knew. Like we thought the lineup would be better. We were wrong. But like you could see why you could think that the lineup would be better. You didn't think they were going to be a juggernaut. You still felt like they were a bad
You want to
sport.
convince yourself. You wanted to buy in. The fan wanted to buy into the resurgence of Mitch Haniger.
Yeah. Well, and then like, but also the same time, like I never. We wrote our whole special section story on the starting rotation. I never thought they'd be this good, like as good as they've been. Like this is, you know,
It's
like
unheard of how good they are.
club record good, like, and so yeah, I never thought that. And I think I don't know, like I don't know where they're at, but to me, if you just it's different now too with JP and Julio being out. Julio probably being out 2 weeks, JP being out at least a month. Um, it's the math is different, but to sit there and assume that this group of pitchers is going to be able to replicate the season next year was absolutely ludicrous.
Mm.
Like you can't expect that because what's part of the production has been that they make every start. Like how many? I mean, if you went through, and I haven't done this yet, but they've probably used the fewest starting pitchers this season. I mean, they've used 6.
I mean, the only other one I could think of would be Philly.
Yeah. So like, I mean, that just doesn't happen in baseball. So like, and to think that it could happen again next year or the year after is not logical given how much pitchers get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think you still have to pursue it, even if you're playing like crap now, and even if you're playing, because like last year, what are they 4 games out or 5 games out at the deadline, and they traded Sewald, and everybody complained, oh, you didn't even try. Well, yeah, you're playing like ass now, but you're only a game out. So just because you can't have the recency bias of how bad they are, and yeah, on paper it says they're still bad, but like the thing is, we've kind of said it before. All they need to do is just kind of get in and let their pitchers go to work. To me, their need to add another, like their shopping list has changed because of what's happened with the two hitters.
Yeah,
With JP and Julio.
But they could have added a bullpen. They could have found a bullpen arm a while ago.
Maybe, but I wouldn't think it would be like a premium. Like
somebody to put in there. They know they've needed help for a while. I mean,
yeah, and I think their belief in their pitching staff that they're always because that's what tantalizes you a little bit. Like there are stretches where Thornton looks pretty dang good, and you're like, okay, yeah, he's figured it out. But then there are other stretches, especially when he has to come in with traffic on base, where he just doesn't have that put away pitch and contact. I mean, they miss Matt Brash so much because he got strikeouts. They don't, and a guy that gets strikeouts at a high level just isn't available right middle of the year. I mean, like there probably won't be even a guy that gets, a high strikeout guy at the deadline. I mean, the two Steves and Garcia for the Angels will be available. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they're pretty good, and Lucas Ursig is hurt. But like, I don't know. I mean, like, I think they need to add a reliever to go with the hitters that they could
Well,
possibly
I,
add.
I I I agree with you, but I mean, at this point, how aggressive do you think that they will be here at the deadline? I mean, we can discuss. I'll ask you about the John Heyman report or whatever he was doing a live show, I think on Bleacher Report or something, and mentioned that the Mariners are as active, have been uber aggressive to go get Vlad Guerrero Jr. Okay, great. I mean, I love Vlad Guerrero Jr. I'd take him in a heartbeat.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, again, how much capital is it going to cost you? A lot, like a lot. And would they pull it off? And that's just assuming if Toronto even wants to do it. But with all these teams that are still so active, for a playoff spot, I mean, they're all going after the same guy. Just all of them.
Yeah,
It's the same
because
guys everywhere. Like we've talked about lesser guys that we think make the baseball team better. We've brought up Lane Thomas a bunch. We've talked about Lamont Wade Jr. a bunch. But for the Giants, I mean, they're still in it. They're not out of
yeah,
it.
that's one
So
of those lateral moves where you have to give up a piece. But again, like with the Giants, if you're getting Lamont Wade Jr., you're probably giving up, you know, two guys that are big. If they're not big leaguers, like it's Emerson Hancock and somebody else.
yeah.
I
So
mean, like,
what do you think? You'll be in Boston when this happens? What you and I are hoping to do something another live show like this during the deadline leading up to it. I mean, what do you think? Like your gut tells you right now what?
my gut tells me that they'll probably just have more kind of or complementary pieces, I
Like
guess.
someone more like a Victor Robles guy
Yeah, I mean,
type of
like,
player.
yeah, trying to, because you maybe be able to have multiple to try
Yeah.
and raise your floor thing or whatever they call floor to ceiling thing.
Yeah,
I don't
Florida
know.
thing. Does that include a catcher?
I mean, it might need to since Cal
It
Raleigh seems to take a beating.
it has to, Ryan. They're running him into the ground.
I know.
And you played the position in college.
Yeah,
And I don't think people know that. You were an all county, all state, all county, all region
yeah.
player, all
I don't
region
even.
catcher.
I don't. I know I was an academic All American. That's for
Well,
sure.
we know that.
Yeah.
You're in journalism for God's sakes. But
Yeah.
I mean they're running him into the ground. They need to find help now. This poor guy. I mean, something tells me that they're just going to play him every single day, and he breaks down and be like, "See you later. We'll trade you in the offseason. We got Harry Ford."
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, like if you can get Lane Thomas, I think he's a good player. But
Yeah,
you know,
solid.
I think he's. I mean, like I don't think he costs you as much prospect capital
Eh,
either, but he does more. Like there's the special assistant to the GM for the White Sox is here the last couple of days watching. I don't know who he's watching,
Huh?
but he's been here the last couple of days. And the White Sox had a guy down in Tacoma last week or 2 weeks ago. I mean,
Okay.
obviously, but it's due diligence at this time of year as well.
Cooking
I
with a
think.
little bit of gas. I want to see that guy in a Mariners uniform. Put him in right field. Let's
Yeah, I
go.
mean, I think I don't know. I mean, it's weird. I don't trust a lot of the rumor mongering that's coming out, because it's there's agendas with a lot of it too, because
Sure.
guys are trying to push things like the Marlins really want to move on from Jazz Chisholm, so they're pushing all this stuff to try and drive up the market.
Yeah.
I don't know that the market's there, but
They floated out to Nightingale. Nightingale pushes it. Yada
yeah,
yada yada.
I mean, yeah, and I mean, like, so I think, yeah, I just don't, I've never the Castillo one caught me off guard so much, but I kind of think like with Jerry, he rarely does what anybody expects. He never
Sure.
does the obvious. And part of the reason is sometimes their money situation doesn't allow them to do the obvious. Again, they still got to pay. Everybody's like, oh, they got to get rid of Garver. It's not. They owe him 12 million for next year. They owe Haniger 16.
God, that's
It's
just
just not like
it's.
this is a team like that doesn't like their financial problems aren't fixed. So I'm. Do I think that they can bump up the payroll or whatever because some of these guys might be available? Yeah, but I just don't know that I see it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, in a way, you do want your GM to still be managing for the moment and the future and sort of like like with Dipoto and Hunter, making decisions that aren't just about this year. Yes, you want to win, but you don't want to do something reactionary that kills you either. I mean, or do something to save your job. You
Right.
know what I mean? Because I think a lot of people believe like if they don't make the postseason this year, that they move on from Jerry and Scott.
Because they're in the final. For just inform people on their contract situations, and we've talked about this before, but just
they're everything I've been told. They're technically in the final year of their deal. They have an option for next year, each of them. It's basically the same thing, kind of a rollover option type of deal. But yeah, I mean that's you don't want them because I think in a way Bill Bavasi was in a walk year. He had the rollover kind of deal, and Bears do that. But he goes out and gives up 5 guys for Bedard because he thinks that's the last piece. So.
Well, you don't want to do it. You don't want to do anything like that. All right, we got a few more minutes with Ryan Divish. This is the Ryan Divish Show. It's the live podcast version, which of course you can watch on YouTube. You're listening Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast, which will be up at all of those platforms, of course, at pucksports.com. All right, you touched on JP's injury situation. What are we talking about? We're 6 weeks.
4 to 6.
Okay.
I mean,
crusher.
Yeah, it's a pinky, so you just don't know how it's going to react. And all it does is it takes a little bang it a couple of times, whatever. That's a problem. So.
And then Julio, high ankle sprain, it just never sounds good. I know he sounded optimistic and was okay with it, but I mean, do they feel that it's pretty confident he'll be on that 10-day IL and that's it? Yeah,
they're hoping at least, maybe not right at the 10-day mark, but a few days after that, he may need to go out and get some rehab games in.
Okay.
They're going to re-X-ray it here or re-MRI it here. Like a week after he did it, and then keep doing it from there. Same with JP's finger. They're just going to keep making running tests to make sure, see how it's progressing, and we'll go from there.
And Gregory Santos, we saw that. Just things are just snowballing on this baseball team. I mean, the losing, the offense, and then all the injuries. Santos, who has been electric since he's come back, he leaves the game. Santos, what's the latest? A knee injury? What's the severity of it?
They didn't say. They didn't know. I think Service was just at wit's end. He hadn't really got the full work. He hadn't really got the full medical update on that yet. I think you're hoping that maybe it scared him more than anything. He tweaked it, but it's nothing serious. But
okay,
I'm sure they're going to fly in a reliever or two on the taxi squad to have him join them in Chicago just in case.
All right. We'll cut you loose. You got a plane to catch back to the motherland. We will talk to you Friday. Another edition of the Ryan Divish Show, brought to you by Chalet Bowl. That will be up on Friday. And then next week we'll talk to you in Boston at the trade deadline, which is less than a week away. Ryan Divish, brought to you by Chalet Bowl, Washington's oldest operating bowling alley, established in 1941, located in Tacoma's Proctor District. Family and owned and operated for the past 40 years by the Frederick family. Their staff specializes in customer service for your bowling, food, and fun experience while at their unique 12-lane facility. Visit chaletbowl.com to make your next reservation. Follow him on X, by the way. He likes to interact with everyone at Ryan Divish. You can follow me at Puck2040, both on X and Instagram. And then, of course, TikTok. We'll have these fancy little videos that we like to cut up. So you're going to hear Divish probably with the ice cream machine in the back. We put those up on Instagram, Facebook, and also TikTok. You can follow there at Puck_sports. And, of course, you can watch us on YouTube, listen on Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. All right, we'll talk to you on Friday. Thank you, Div.
All right, man. See you.
There he is, Ryan Divish with us every single Wednesday and Friday right here at pucksports.com. We'll talk to you soon. As always, promise to be better.
But we won't.